What's up, y'all? It's Jerome here, the head geek of Vetsu Code. So I want to go ahead and show you all what are artifacts that'll help you get hired. Someone on YouTube, they asked us in the comment page about this, and I shared a link, but I just wanted to go ahead and create a video so you all can see this. Now, John, he's one of my new troops. He completed a feature on Vetsu Code that we absolutely love, and we created artifacts throughout the entire process to make sure that we had things that we could use to sell and tell his story. And this is an example of these things. So it starts at the issue, right? I created issue. I made sure that they're new. So I made sure that I fleshed out my issue because it's a responsibility I feel like that I have as a leader to ensure that I set people up for a success versus, say you should be smart enough or you should be understand ambiguity and all the other stuff. That's not what leaders do. Leaders set people up for success. That's the whole job of a leader. If I'm not setting people up for success, I'm a failure. So I made sure that my issue statement was very fleshed out, very feature complete, let them know the technologies that they need to use, everything, what steps they had to do. I made sure that I had a design document template. Here at Vetsu Code, you have to do a design document template, design document for your project before you write code, and it has to be signed off. That way, you have done the work. One of the things I learned when I first joined Microsoft is that doing the design document helps the speed of the project. Now, when I first joined, I absolutely hated it. I loathed it. But then when I was on team with my first manager, shout out, I'm brain farting his name, but he's literally right now my favorite manager that I've ever had. But once I saw that all that, documentation, all that stuff was done, that will bore me out of my mind. I hated showing up to these meetings. Once all was done and hands were on keyboard, the code would fly. And that's what we've seen at Vetsu Code, is that once the design doc is done, the troops, they're pushing, they're finishing their feature faster than normal. The PRs are not standing there, right? So he has technical details, risk assumptions, testing plan, rollout plan, maintenance, timeline, sign off. A lot of things that other code schools, they just aren't thinking about, right? Because they have people who either never really made it past mid-sized companies, small companies, or never really got into like beyond junior. So you have somebody who isn't quite junior or maybe did some contract work, did their own design studio teaching people how to code, but they're not teaching people how to code at a level that based upon employment, based upon modern current employment practices, right? Which is something that we value different at Vetsu Code, because it's much different learning how to code from a full-time web developer instructor versus a full-time software engineer. So he finished his design feature template, his first draft, but he did so well that I went ahead and signed it off. And this is something that he can use, that we are using. You see, with user stories, the visuals, the project detail, modal wireframes, these type of stats, things like that. I never said do any of this. These are things he came up with on his own by doing a design document. He sat down and thought about this. So he was thinking about implementation on this feature that I never asked for, which is what makes it such a reason to do this. You never know, when you're doing your research for your design document, stuff like this is how, you get the opportunities to actually show off what you're building versus just, hands on keyboard coding, red, green, refactor, just, push. Just thoughtfulness. You can't replicate. And this is the type of thoughtfulness that is done to make, large, dependable technology systems, right? When you don't, you never have to worry about Word going down or Excel going down, because this is the type of thoughtfulness that goes into building those type of products. And I make sure that our troops, even though they're junior, they have that type of thoughtfulness built in. technical details, risk and assumptions, his testing plan, what he was going to test, right? We focus on, he focused on the APIs, the functionality, the performance, all things that a true professional looks at, not just if it's loading, but is it loading fast? Is any of the features breaking or require it? He showcased how he was going to test it and his success criteria, right? Rollout plan, maintenance, the timeline, and of course, sign off. So that was done. So now he has the advantage of having the feature done, right? He showcases what he was going to say, the paragraph, but now everything's accessible. As you see, it crosses the accessibility for CWAG, where once you unhover it, you see in action, right? Actually, I should go back and have him do at least 2 actions, right? I think that's the CWAG 2.0 standard, and I will definitely let him know that, right? But you see that he has finished. He has all of our projects. You click on a project, beautiful motion, right? And this level of detail, I didn't ask him for this level of detail. This is what came from his artifact, right? His design doc that he implemented, right? He showed the statistics, who's watching, the forks, the top contributors. They highlight as you go over them, the technologies, whether it's live and where the link is on GitHub, all here, right? These are the things that he thought of himself once he went through his design document phase. This is why it's important to have that phase and get sign off from somebody who is an expert, because if you don't do this phase, what's going to happen is you're just going to push something that's, basic, right? And of course, what we did, we made sure that he had a blog. So we made sure that on our website he can leverage this. He shared it on his website. He can share it on Dev2. He can share it on Twitter. But we made sure that he had something that was an artifact that he wrote that showcased, who he was, how he introduced the project. He showed the phases of designing, code refactoring, telling that story, right? You can't tell that he did code refactoring if you're not a programmer, right? But in here, we can talk about what he refactored, how he handled the data, dynamic data integration, how he built the model, how he tested. He brings up ISR multiple times because we spoke about ISR as one of the forms of pushing data up and refreshing refreshing your applications in a manner that was, you didn't have to refresh the entire application, but just parts that had real-time data. He mentions that, which is super cool. Like, he talked about the, incremental static regeneration component process, and knowing that, hey, this is a part of growth that people aren't going to be asking a junior. So let me showcase this, and let me showcase how I made sure why I did it, right? I did this ISR protocol for the process of if there were updates to the GitHub API, they would be pulled in incrementally without constantly touching the GitHub API every time someone connected on it, but only when there were, when it checked and saw that there was a change, pull it in, right? That's pretty freaking amazing. Of course, testing and deployment. At Vatsu Code, even though we are primarily a JavaScript shop, I am very big on testing, because we all know that you're not going to be testing, you're not going to be writing code in just JavaScript for long. And even though the JavaScript community has a very big problem with writing tests, your next language isn't going to have that. If you're writing C#, their tests are going to be expected. If you're writing Python, tests are going to be expected. Java, tests are going to be expected. Kotlin, tests are going to be expected. So you have to, input that type of thought process into your building phase with regardless whatever language you're building. And so I make sure my JavaScript engineers, my front ends, my Next.js, my full stacks write tests regardless. Just because they're using JavaScript doesn't mean that they shouldn't be writing tests. Of course, we give you the opportunity to go to the projects page and his GitHub feature issue right here, and in words like explore the page, go check it out, go do that. Right? It creates a way for people to segue. Like, you can share this, and then you could go to the projects page and you're like, yo, you built this. And then you can go and check out how he built it, right? And now we're piggybacking it out, and this isn't even it. We're also now starting to do we're going to do the vlog podcast portion of this. So we're going to continue to build out that story that's going to make employers want him. And that is that's the code difference. We want to take that time to build a better programmer or better junior, particularly in the era of AI, particularly when there's so much competition. We want to make sure that our people are the best of the best. And I want to thank our donors for that. You all gave us the space and grace to where other people were still trying to, push out classes and student after student because they needed to make money. We didn't have to do that. Our donors stayed near and dear and true to us, and because of that, we were able to pause very, very early, look at our data, and be more than prepared starting last year for what the modern software engineer is going to look for the next 2 to 3 years. And so thank you for that. But other than that, hopefully y'all learned something from this, and hopefully you guys can apply it into your careers, into how you do things. And I hope y'all have a great Vetsucode day, and stay warm out there.